Assalamualaikum, welcome back to Coding with T. Today we are going to learn how to add or remove items in your wish list, and also we are going to master the concept of local storage. So first of all, let's quickly have a look what we are going to create. Okay, so our application is running. Okay, all the data is loaded. Today's tutorial is not dependent on if you are following the previous tutorials or not. This tutorial is totally independent and will be able to teach you new concepts of local storage and as well as development. So we talk over the previous tutorials. We have already learned how to get all the categories, subcategories, banners, get all the products. And also in the previous tutorials, we completed the loading of the store, included all the brands, categories data, and all the category related brands, product of each brand, and also the product of each category. But whereas today, if we talk about that, we are going to cover when you are going to click on this button, it is going to add product in the wish list. And if we go to the wish list, you will be able to see that product in the wish list that we are going to retrieve using future builder from the Firebase directory. And if we head back and let's say we are going to add these two products as well, let's go to home and also try to add these products, and you can also see a pop-up which is saying product has been added to the wish list. And now if we go back, you can see all the four products that has been added. You can also remove these products from here. Let's again go to the home. Let's open the product which is added. We can also remove this product from the wish list or add it again from the wish list, and also you can see the pop-up. These all items are only being added to the local storage, which is a device storage, or you can call it shared preferences, is only specifically related to the user who is logged in. If I'm going to change the account, these all the local storage tags or the products added to the wish list will be removed and new users bucket will be created. So we are going to learn that how to handle local storage are related to the login user as well. So today's tutorial is going to be very informative. Following the series, you know that we are creating Flutter e-commerce application, and we have already covered section 1 with the in-depth tutorials, how to create application, etc. In section 2, we learn how to design the login screens, and in section 3, we design the complete e-commerce app. In the section 4, we started the backend. We covered each and every concepts of the backend tutorial using Firebase authentication, and whereas in the section 5, we are about to complete this section 5, and which we learn all the concepts to get the data, show the data, and how to efficiently work with the Firebase. If you're new, you can get the playlist link from the description or from the right top corner, and also you can download the complete code. Link is in the description. So let's get started with today's tutorial. First of all, if we go to the features, go to the shop in the screens, we first have to find the product in which we are using our icon button that we want to toggle. So if we go to the home and if we scroll to the bottom, you can see we have a custom grid, and inside the custom grid, we have a custom widget, which is a single product card widget. And inside the section of this thumbnail, which is this one, we have three things. The first one is the thumbnail image, then we have a sale tag, and then we also have a favorite icon button. Currently, you can see we only using T circular icon to display icon, and the color of the icon is red. So this is we are using, but as we are going to add functionality to this, and also we are using the same favorite icon in multiple places, like in product details, in this product card vertical. If we open this, which is inside common widgets, we have a custom widget of product cards. You can see we have a horizontal card and also we have a vertical card. So same way we are going to display these things on different locations. So instead of copy pasting the code on all the locations and handling all the backend on different locations, we are going to extract this widget. It is just a simple one line, and going to create another folder over here. Let me do it quickly. We have created a new folder, favorite icon, and inside we have a favorite icon dot class, which is again will be reusable widget. Inside this widget, I've just pasted the same code that we have over here inside the horizontal card and also inside the vertical card. So just replace that code with the T favorite icon, and rest of the things will be handled inside this widget. So same we have to replace wherever we require this favorite icon. So just replace it here as well. Import this widget, and also in the product details screen, open the product details inside this image slider, because over here we have that icon. So this is the image slider, and here we have an app bar icon. So this is where we are displaying as an action of this app bar icon, which is a favorite icon. So import it here also, and we are almost done. Now let's open the widget, which is the favorite icon widget. And in here, we are going to use this widget and make it reusable and also add backend functionality. So as all the backend functionality will land into some controller who is going to control this widget. So for that, we are going to create a new controller, and name of that controller will be favorite controller. And you can see we are using get.put to create a new instance inside this widget, because whenever this widget is going to be called, a new instance will be triggered. Based on this new instance, we will be able to retrieve the current logged in users favorite items which are already in the favorite. Let's close this and let's go to the utils, and in the utility we have already created storage utility.dart, and you can see it has a singleton pattern implemented so that only one instance can be used throughout wherever we are going to use this t local storage in our design. And also I have added some example that how you are going to call this. So let me just remove it from here, and now we're going to modify this. You can see to save the data we are just going to pass the string of type key and value. So let me also first explain that how local storage works. Local storage basically works on a combination of key values. We have to pass the JSON in order to store the data inside the local storage, and inside the JSON we have curly brackets at start and at the end, and then in the curly brackets we have first key, and based on that key we have a value. Value can be anything, but key should be a string. So in other words, you can say that we are simply going to store JSON. We first have to convert that data into JSON and we'll store it inside the local storage. And based on that unique key, we will be able to retrieve our data from the local storage. So using that, you can see we have a private variable of get storage. You can see currently we are not creating a unique bucket of each user, but we just have a storage get storage, and based on this storage we are saving this data. We have to pass the key and also we have to pass the value. This t means that it is a generic type. You can pass any type of value over here, and when you pass the value, this t will take that value type. Let's say we are going to pass value as a string, so this t will be treated as a string. So this key will be stored simply using the instance of this get storage. And also if you go to the pubspec.yaml file, the first and foremost thing I forget about that we are going to use this get storage package. Make sure to update it, because when we started the project at that time I added this get storage, so I didn't update it yet. So make sure to update it, add it, click on pubget. Once done, then you will be able to use this get storage over here. Once you created a new instance, we have to save the data. Dot write is going to take the key and value, and also when we're going to read this, we have to define the type over here inside the t, so that t will be returned. And using storage.read, we will be able to pass the key, and based on that key we will able to read the data. Also to remove the data, we have to pass the key which we want to remove, and using remove keyword we will remove this data. And also clear all is going to erase everything inside this storage variable. Now to modify this specifically for the user, because this case is very generic, whatever we are going to store will be stored inside our local device storage, and we cannot distinguish between different logged in users. For that, we have to make sure that we are not assigning get storage over here, but we also have to pass the logged in user key so that we can create a bucket. Because if we are not going to pass anything inside it, this means that we have a generic get storage. And if I am going to pass, let's say coding with t, so this is going to create a bucket type of coding with t and going to store all the data inside this bucket. So whenever I'm going to retrieve the data of this bucket, I have to mention again coding with t to get all the data. Now to create user specific bucket, we have to make this dynamic, and we don't want to pass or create instance manually over here. We will keep this class local storage the way we are using as the internal storage. So let me just modify this, add late final. Using get storage variable, we have created a simple empty storage variable which is not yet assigned. In here you can see previously we were assigning the local storage internal instance that is already created over here. We are using this again and again whenever this class instance was created. So let's remove this. Now using this factory method, we are going to assign the instance. So create another factory method t local storage dot instance, because this is what we will be using now onward. And inside this we have to assign a new instance. So for that, I have created the new instance of the same class, which will be private instance because we don't want to let the user to create any instances. So I have created the instance as a private instance. Now to assign this instance, we don't want to return over here anything. Instance, if it is null, we want to equal this with the local storage dot internal instance, and then simply return this instance over here. You can also add return over here as well, and also make sure to add exclamation mark because we handle the null check over here, so that's why we can add a null check. Now by this way, it is not going to crash if somehow we landed with the null value and we are assigning the null value to this local storage. So we know that it is not going to crash anymore. Let's sort the code. First create the variable of the get storage, then the singleton variable, then we have the factory instance which is going to assign or create a new instance, and also let's move it at the top. Rest everything will remain same. And now to initialize a user based bucket or to create a user based bucket, because currently you can see we're not assigning this storage, but we just handle this singleton class because singleton class can be null. So to avoid that null, we have just added or modified the code over here. Now to handle or assign this storage or user based storage, we have to create a function that will also be a static function. You can avoid this return statement, but I'm using future void. You can name it anything, but just because we have to initialize this, so I'm going to name it init, and inside this we will receive bucket name. So this will be the bucket name that we want to initialize, and also it is going to be an async function. This is going to be a very important thing because if you miss this step, you will not be able to get your data. So we have to initialize get storage bucket each time when we are going to create a new bucket. So because we are creating a new bucket over here for a specific user, before assigning, we have to call get storage init method, and inside this we have to pass the bucket name because first get storage is going to create a new instance or initialize this bucket. And now once this bucket is initialized, we will be able to first create the instance over here, local storage dot internal, and also now using this instance because this instance might be null, so that's why I'm going to reinitialize it. So again using this instance because instance can be null, so add null check operator dot use this storage variable. The variable we have using over here is equal to the new instance get storage and pass the bucket name because we want to use the bucket name based on the name we received over here. It can be a name, it can be a value, it can be anything, but it must be unique and inside a string format, right? Now once we have created this class, we have to pass this bucket name in order to initialize it. Now if we head towards this main.dart, this is where our application starts, and whenever this Firebase will be initialized, this is the first repository that has been created. So let's go to authentication repository. If you don't know or never created anything about this and you are confused, you can watch the section 4 videos where we learn how to create authentication repository to handle user screens. This is the screen redirect method will be triggered whenever this onReady method will be triggered, and inside we have the screen redirect. This screen redirect is simply going to check that if current user of this Firebase authentication is not null, and also if the email is verified. If email is not verified, we have to send the user to verify email screen, and if user is not logged in, we are going to redirect user to the login screen or the onboarding screen. But in success scenario, when the user email is verified and also user is not null, we are redirecting user to the navigation menu where user will be redirected to the home screen. Now in here, we know that user is logged in, and also we have a user class over here. Now to create a user specific bucket, I'm going to initialize the user, which is using a wait sign because we have a function which is already async function. So using this t-localStorage.init method, we are going to pass the bucket name as user.uid. This is the UID of Firebase authentication and will be unique for each user. So based on this user UID, we are going to create a new instance of that user. And whenever this is going to be initialized, when our application launches first time in the init method, we will first create the instance or initialize the get storage. Once initialized, we will create a new instance of this class of this local storage using internal, and also once initialize this instance, we will able to initialize the get storage with the new bucket name. Now throughout in our application, we will be able to use already created instance, and we will save the data, read data, remove and clear all data. We can use all these functions. Now once this is done, let's head towards the favorites controller. which I have created inside the shop, inside the controllers, in the product controller, because it is related to the product. So I have created favorite controller inside this. It is simply an empty class extending with the getx controller, and then we have the get.find method, which is going to find the already created instance later on inside our application. But you just have to make sure that inside the favorite icon, the design where we are going to call this, because when our application launches for the first time in the home screen, we want to make sure that the favorites controller instance should be created over here. So using get.put, the first time instance will be created, and then it is going to reuse it again and again. So let's go to the favorites controller, and I have created init favorite method, because whenever this instance will be created, I want to fetch all the already stored favorites or the wish list items inside the wish list of the user. So first of all, we have to create a variable, name it favorites, and it will be a type of key and value pair. So key will always be string and value will always be boolean, because it will be a JSON. So add curly brackets, and then we are going to make it OBS. The reason to make it OBS, because we want to redraw our design again and again whenever there is change inside this favorites list, so that our design can be toggled when user is going to click on that favorite icon once. We want to change the icon and also change the color, so that we have to redraw it again and again. So to detect the redraw, we are going to make the variables dot obs, and whenever this new instance will be created of this favorites controller class, this function will be triggered, and inside this function now we are going to fetch the already stored favorites, because we have to store everything in a JSON format. So we have to encode and decode data into JSON. So create a JSON variable, and using t local storage dot instance, this is how we are going to call the t local storage that we just created, and then we are going to call the read data, and we have passed the key as favorites key. Now it is going to execute this read data function, pass the key as favorites, and the story.read is going to get all the data currently we have pasted or placed inside this key, which is favorites key. And then we're going to check if JSON is not null, we receive something inside it. We have to decode it, call the JSON decode function, and pass the JSON that we just received, and we are going to map it as string of type dynamic. And once we have all the things over here, we are going to assign everything to this favorites, because based on this favorites we will be later on change the design. So to receive everything from this stored data, and using favorites dot assign all, we are going to all this stored favorites, and using this map value get the key and value. So using map entry, we will get the key as it is and as a value, because you can see we have key will be string and boolean as a value. So we receive string and dynamic. Key will be string. We know we are going to receive the string, but we have to map this value from dynamic to boolean. So based on this, we will be able to assign all the data to these favorites whenever our application launch. Now the next function is to check, which is going to return if current product is inside the favorites or not. So is favorite, pass the string as the product ID, because based on this product ID, we will be able to decide if that product is inside the favorites or not. So we are going to return true or false. So I'm going to call all the favorites, because you can see we have all the favorites now inside this variable. So favorites of, because it is a key value combination, so I have to provide the key to get the value. So let's say we have this product ID. We will pass this key, and if we receive, value will always be true or false. So if we have that product ID inside that list, we will receive true. Otherwise, we are going to receive false. And also, if we don't have anything inside it, we will receive null. And if we receive null, we will return false, means that product is not inside the favorites. Next, we are going to add the products inside the favorites, create a function which is going to either toggle the products, because user can add it or remove it. So this is the function that is going to toggle the favorite products inside the local storage. I've created a function which is not going to return anything, have a void type, and then I'm going to toggle favorite product, and we are going to receive the product ID which we are going to toggle. And also I just remove the async, because I've just noted that we are not doing anything await sign over here, so we not required any await keyword. Okay, now inside this function we first have to check that if already this product ID is inside our favorites or not. If call this favorites, and inside the favorites dot, if we see that if it contains a key, which is the product ID. The first check is add not sign. If we do not have this product key already inside the favorites, this means that we have to add it. So first add that inside this variable dot product ID is equal to true. Now this is going to create the key value pair. So this key will have a value of true, will be stored inside this variable. And now to store this data inside the local storage, we will create a function which is going to save favorites to storage. And then we're going to use the tloader.custom toast will display this toast message. To see the toast, you can see I'm using scaffold messenger dot of context dot show snack bar, and as a snack bar I've created a custom toast. By this way, we will be able to assign the new product ID inside this favorites as well as to the local storage. Now in the else, because previously it was inside this favorites, means it was already stored. Now in the else, if you see the if statement, favorites dot contains key of this product ID and we have a not sign, this means that it is not inside the favorites and it is a new product ID, then it will be added. Now in this case, it is already added into the favorites. So first we have to remove that whether it's liked or not liked, and then we have to add a new state inside the favorites. So we'll use the local storage dot instance dot remove data, which we have over here, pass the key, and if it is already added, it is going to remove this whether it is false or true. And also we want to remove this from the favorites dot remove and pass the product ID. And again, because we have to remove this, we will get the latest storage by calling the save favorites to storage, and then we're going to make sure to call this favorites dot refresh to get the updated favorite list, which is going to redraw our design. And also we have to display a message that your wish list item has been removed from both the local storage and also from the favorites list. Now to create this function, let me copy this. This function is also not going to return anything because it has to store the data. So we have to use the favorites using JSON.encode. We will have the encoded JSON because at the top you can see while receiving all the data, we decoded the JSON. So JSON decode, we pass the JSON, and now we have to encode it using JSON.encode, and again call the t local storage dot instance dot write data, and I think we forget to add the write data. Let's go to instance, and inside we have save data, read data. It's a save data function, so let's call it save data. We have to pass the key which will be the favorites, because while reading the data we pass the key which is the favorites key, and based on that same key we will be able to store it and read it. And we will pass the encoded favorites, so this key will have the encoded favorites stored inside this favorites, and while reading we have to do same, we have to decode that JSON, and that JSON will have a key of favorites. And now at the end, the last function that we are going to create inside this controller, which is going to get the products from the Firebase, and we will use a future builder to display all those products. So I've created a function which is going to return a list of products, name it favorite products, and it will be async function because we have to call the cloud query using product repository, because all the product related queries are inside this product repository dot instance, and inside we are going to call or create a function get favorite products, and using favorites dot keys dot to list we will be able to send all the favorite key IDs or all the product ID keys to this function. Now let's head toward this product repository, and inside this let's copy this function, paste it by Control D to duplicate, change the function name, and also change the variable we are going to receive list of type strings, which will be the all product IDs currently we have in the local storage. And we're going to call database dot collection. Database will be the Firebase Firestore dot collection, the Firebase Firestore.instance that we have created already at the top. So using that database dot collection, pass the collection name which is products, and dot where is going to get the document IDs because we have all the product IDs over here. So using this document ID, wherein is going to take list of, you can see it is going to take the list of objects which will be the list of strings, and based on that it is going to compare and find all the document IDs with the list of document IDs, and will return the products. We will going to map all the products on this product model dot from snapshot using documents. It is going to receive the JSON from the Firebase, get the data and map all the data to all the variables and return us the product model, exactly what we want. And also do it for all the products, make it to list, and will return all the list of product models. So head back to favorite controllers and you can see error is gone. Now we have to use this controller inside the favorite icon. So first of all, we have to wrap this circular icon with a widget, which will be OBX widget, which is going to redraw the screen whenever there is change. And because it has to return a widget, so this widget we are going to return. And also it needs .obs, which it has to detect, and whenever there is change inside the OBS variable, which is this one. This is the OBS variable. This is basically observable variable, and this OBX is the observer, which is going to observe that variable, and whenever there is change inside that variable, it is going to redraw this widget again. So we are not just going to display a static icon now. Let's first do the control alt L using this controller dot, we have a function which is favorite, and it is going to receive product ID. And also while calling this widget, we have to receive product ID, make it required inside the widget. Now, whenever we will receive this product ID, and we will pass to is favorites, and if it is going to return true, we want to display this icon which is heart 5, and else we want to display an empty icon. Also, we have to remove this constant. We're going to do same for the color. If controller dot is favorite, we're going to display the error color, which is the red color, and else we don't want to assign any color. And also the last thing is the on press inside this T circular icon. Whenever this icon is going to be pressed, this function will be executed, and it is going to call the controller dot toggle favorite product, and we have to pass the product ID. And that's it for this widget. This is going to do everything. Now we just have to call the widget and pass the product ID. And we already have the error inside the product details image slider, because over here we also have to pass the product ID now. So we have the product over here at the top. So using this product dot ID, we're going to pass the product ID, and we have to remove this constant, copy this, and also let's go to common widgets, and inside the both layouts, vertical and horizontal, we have to pass again the product ID, and also inside this horizontal layout, remove this constant, paste the product ID. We don't have a product currently over here for the horizontal, which will be upcoming tutorial, so we'll try to add it later on. Let's add some empty string. Okay, we are almost done with the coding. Let's try to run this application. And one more thing, let's again go to show up screens, find the wishlist screen, wishlist.dart, where we have the grid layout. We have to wrap this grid layout with the future builder. So first of all, inside this build method, we are going to call that controller favorites controller, and now we don't have to create the instance, but we just have to find the already created instance. So using this controller, we have to wrap this grid layout with a stream builder, remove this stream builder with a future builder, remove this or replace this stream with a future, and we have to now pass the future over here. Controller dot, we have to call this method which is favorite products, call dot favorite products, and this is going to be a future function. And what this function is going to do, it is going to call the product repository and get the favorite products. And we know that we will have a data inside this snapshot. We are going to follow the same future application. Okay, also our application is running, so let's first see that if it is working or not. This is the vertical card. So when I'm going to click on this, you can see a notification and also a red sign. This means that product has been added. Let's toggle it one more time, and you can see removed from the wish list. Let's do it for all of them, and let's open this product detail. Let's try to click on here, and you can see it's working here as well. So this means it is working, but when we are going to open the wish list, we have the dummy data, which is also not being displaying over here. Now to fix this, we are going to use already created loaders, which is the vertical product shimmer loader. It will be using a shimmer package to create a grid layout with an item count, which is by default 4. You can change these values as well, and also create an image and a text so that it looks like a product has been loading. The item count 6 you can see over here, and using a function which is check multi records. This function is going to take the async snapshot with a list of type T. So currently if you hover this snapshot, it is async snapshot of type list of product models. It is going to take this snapshot. Let's open this. It is going to take the snapshot and check if connection state is waiting. It is going to return the loader that we are going to provide, else it is going to provide the default loader. And same if we don't have the data or data is null, and also if snapshot or data is empty, we will able to return the nothing found widget. And if we have any error, we will be able to return something went wrong widget. If we pass the error widget, that widget will be returned. And also, if we return null over here, this means that we don't have any error. We don't have to wait anymore. Data has arrived, and we just have to check that if widget not is equal to null, this means that something went wrong and we have to return that widget. Else, nothing went wrong. We just have to return the actual data. So before go heading towards the actual data, I want to create an empty widget. And you can see I have created animation loader widget, which is the helper class that we created at the beginning of our playlist. Just a center column using Lottie, it is going to start the animations. It has a text and also a button if required. Using show action, outline button will be created with the text in it. So this is going to, we just have to pass the text animation. Show action button is true. Action text will be this one, and on action press it is going to take us to the home screen if it is empty. And I've passed this empty widget to this function. And also we have to make this grid layout to dynamic now. We have all the products inside the snapshot.data. So to get the item counts products.length, and instead of passing the empty product, we can pass the products at current index. Control Alt L. Now it should work. Let's rerun it. Okay, so data has been working. One product which was already in the cart. Let's go to wishlist, and you can see we retrieved the actual product. And I'm going to remove this. It has not been refreshed. The reason is very obvious, that we are unable to trigger the OBX. So let's wrap this future builder with the OBX widget, and we have to return the feature builder inside it. Now let's refresh it, and you can see our empty widget is being displaying over here using Lottie animation. Then we have a text and a button. Let's go to the home screen, and in here let's try to add one or two more elements in the wish list. Let's go to wish list, and you can see we have two elements. So this time when we are going to remove, you can see things has been loading, and we also have the empty wish list. So this is what we wanted to create in today's tutorial, and I hope you learned something new. If you learned something new, please like the video, and if you're new to this channel, don't forget to like and subscribe for more upcoming videos. You can also download the complete code, link is in the description. And once again, thank you for watching. Take care. Allah Hafiz.